Giants, despite being at home in the land, were a home underdog against Tarek Skubal. Enter Lane Thomas, maybe one of the under-the-radar trade deadline acquisitions being dealt from the Nationals. He was huge in the ALDS.
A heavy favorite for the New York Yankees in the series. You're going to look to their best two ball players to be those MVPs. That's Juan Soto and it's Aaron Judge.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Hello and welcome to a Football Friday Live right here on the Early Line on SportsGrid and all across the SportsGrid network. That includes sportsgrid.com/watch, where you can find your favorite destination and consume everything all across the grid. He is Joe Ranieri. I am Ben Stevens. We are here together for the next 3 hours up until 11 a.m. Eastern Time on this Football Friday to set the stage for a new weekend around the National Football League. It is week number 7. Underway last night with a technical football game on display in the Big Easy. We recap Thursday Night Football. We preview, break down, and give you some best bets for every single football game on the Sunday slate. Week 8 of the college football season underway as well. The Saturday slate, phenomenal and magnificent once again. And Joe, for a second consecutive night, we've got 2 games in October baseball after a huge playoff Thursday in MLB and a WNBA championship on the line tonight in the Twin Cities as well. There is so much to get to on this Football Friday, but a little bit of everything on this Friday on TEL.
Yeah, no, there is, and even a interesting college basketball story we're going to get to. So truly a little something for everyone here, Ben.
A big-time college basketball story about 2.5 weeks from the start of this new season in 2024-25. But, Joe, we start with Thursday Night Football, a recap last night in New Orleans. The Broncos, the dominant side on this short week Thursday Night Football game, celebrating their head coach, Sean Payton's return to the Big Easy. 33-10, the win for Denver. Joe, we are starting to near the middle portion of this NFL season. These short week Thursday Night Football games might look as though they did last night. It was football. Denver wins. There's not much more to say outside of that. The Broncos cover as a 2.5-point road favorite. And I'm sorry if you had the under last night. You were looking pretty good until the final 5 minutes where ugly football was on display. Spencer Rattler bounce passes a ball, picks it up, fumbles it. Denver takes it back the other way for a scoop and score. And then the backup quarterback, Jake Haener, comes in and throws a touchdown. Again, if you had the under, you were feeling good in an ugly Thursday night game until the final 5 minutes. Outside of that, the Broncos roll. They're a game above 500 at 4-3 straight up this year.
Yeah, I mean, it was ugly on so many levels. And the overhits, which is hilarious, given the fact that Alvin Kamara had, I believe, 10 yards rushing in this game and 14 receiving. So the idea that the Saints were held to 10 points and this game still went over tells you just how decimated on both sides of the ball the New Orleans Saints really were in this game at home. But kudos to Sean Payton for getting a little revenge there on his former team.
Certainly so, Joe. Both of the rookie quarterbacks squaring off last night had a passing yards prop less than 200. Neither throws for even 175. But Denver and Javonte Williams, good on the ground. Defense looks solid. We'll recap Thursday Night Football in just a moment. A doubleheader, though, in Major League Baseball in this postseason. And what a night it was. We start in Queens at Citi Field. The Dodgers with a 2-1 series lead, a slight road favorite for game number 4. Yoshi Yamamoto, Jose Quintana. Yamamoto gets the better of Quintana. Shohei Ohtani leads off the game with a home run on the second pitch. And the Dodgers continue to just stack it up offensively. 10-2, the victory yesterday in Game 4 as the Dodgers take a commanding 3-1 series advantage. Joe, just one win away for Los Angeles from a National League pennant.
Yeah, it went from bad to worse for the Mets in a hurry here. But the reality is that this series is not even close, Ben. In the 3 wins the Dodgers have so far, they've outscored the Mets 27-2. That is just pure domination here. There's nothing else to say here. The Mets are being outclassed in every aspect of the game. And unfortunately, don't see how that's going to get any better this afternoon.
Yeah, the Dodgers, in a weird way, Joe, had their questions about their pitching staff, never their offense.
Yep.
And the offense is delivering. Mookie Betts, he awoke last night in the NLCS. We talked about Ohtani going yard for a second straight day in Queens. How about Tommy Edman continuing to deliver at the dish for the Dodgers? It was a good game at Citi Field. It was nowhere close to the game that we saw in Cleveland. Game number 3 of the ALCS, the first in the land. The Guardians had a 3-1 lead entering the 8th. Enter Aaron Judge and Giancarlo Stanton. They go back to back to give the Yankees a 4-3 lead. Gleyber Torres adds on some insurance in the top of the 9th. So it's got to be done, right? Down to their final out. Big Christmas. John Kenzie Noel delivers a 2-run shot that off the bat you knew it was out of the yard, ties the game in regulation, sends it to extras in the home half of the 10th. David Fry, another no doubt 2-run walk-off home run. The Guardians win one of the best playoff baseball games these two eyes have ever seen, 7-5 to etch out their first victory in the LCS.
Yeah, and I'll say it, Yankee fans, and I knew they were in big trouble, Ben, when they were celebrating after those 2 home runs by Judge and Giancarlo like they just won the World Series. I could not believe what I was watching in that game. Like, not like we've been there before. We're the friggin' New York Yankees, right? We expect to beat you. They were jumping up and down as if they had just won something. And as it turns out, they didn't win anything, Ben, did they?
They got to Emmanuel Clase, who has been got to throughout this postseason.
Yeah.
But the story of the night, the resilience for Cleveland to win their first game in the American League Championship Series. Joe, we did not expect to have college basketball in a 7-7 for at least a few more weeks in the start of the season. A stunning move yesterday. Virginia's head coach, Tony Bennett, out of nowhere, announces his retirement after 15 years in Charlottesville. We are less than 3 weeks away from the start of a new college basketball season, and one of the 7 head coaches as of yesterday that had won a national championship is now walking away from the sport.
And Ben, they just gave him an extension in June. That would have kept him there through 2030. And I believe there's a press conference this morning. Anybody have any idea? I have no idea what happened here 2 weeks away from the start of the season. Makes absolutely no sense to me. But I guess we'll learn a little something a little bit later here.
11 a.m. Eastern time scheduled is that press conference in Charlottesville for Tony Bennett to try to explain his decision and the shocking timing of it. Some have speculated it's the changing landscape, and he's kind of, although younger than the likes of Roy Williams and Coach K and Jim Boeheim and Jay Wright, was not exactly loving the new landscape of NIL in college basketball. Thankfully, as reported, no health concerns. We shall see what exactly the reasoning is. for the LA Clippers and Kawhi Leonard. Always health concerns. Out indefinitely, Joe, with the season a week away as he deals with right knee inflammation.
Oh, wow. Yeah, there's a shock, Ben. Didn't see that coming. I mean, who saw Kawhi Leonard being on the bench to start the season? Yeah, no, I'll see you in February, Kawhi. That's about it. That's all we can do with him.
The Clippers are going to take a step back this year in the Western Conference. Justin Fields, as he is apparently, although no official confirmation, being benched for Sunday night in favor of Russell Wilson, speaking honestly with the media yesterday, Joe, saying, frankly, I didn't play good enough to hold on to the job.
Yeah, well, and you got to love the honesty here, but don't worry, you'll be back in soon enough once Russell hits under center. Don't worry, you'll be good.
We will preview the entirety of the Sunday slate, including Sunday night in the Steel City against the Jets. Some college football on a Thursday. Virginia Tech rolls in Blacksburg. Marshall, a big victory as well. More from Thursday Night Football in New Orleans next.
That kid on the two-point conversion play was wide open on the right side of the end zone, and the kid threw it about 15 rows over his head.
People crystallize Georgia and Alabama. They put them on the shelf above everyone else, and they're just not there this year. I thought the kid Beck was great on Saturday, but they barely beat Mississippi State, who is porous.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Week 7 of the 2024 NFL season underway as of last night in New Orleans. The Saints playing host to the Broncos. And Joe, entering the game, in terms of the actual football game itself, there was a lot of unknown. Two rookie quarterbacks facing off against one another. Bo Nix has started all 7 games for Denver this year, the 12th overall pick as expected. Spencer Rattler, because of the oblique injury to Derek Carr, making his second consecutive career start. What exactly would the game look like? How pretty would it be on a short week in the Big Easy? And then there was the atmosphere and the magnitude of the game. Sean Payton, after 15 years at the helm in the Big Easy, back against his former team for the first time as Denver's head man. And it was a celebration for one side and many questions left on the other. Denver rolls on Thursday night, 33-10. The Broncos easily cover as a 2.5-point road favorite. A total at 37.5 goes over in the final 5 minutes. Denver, after a turnover from Spencer Rattler, scoops and scores to put them in front in a large way. And then the Saints, with the backup, Jake Haener throws a touchdown to Cedric Wilson in the final 90 seconds, pushes us to an over of that 37.5. If you had the under, we do feel for you, because outside of that, Joe, it was Denver domination on Thursday, and I'm not sure there's all that much of a takeaway except to say, hey, Broncos, good job.
Yeah, I mean, listen, you'd only play the teams on the schedule, right? And this was a game I'm sure Sean Payton and company had circled. And this looked, Ben, just a little over a month ago, this looked like a different matchup, didn't it? Than the one we got last night. I mean, the Saints were rattling off points and wins early. Now they've lost, 5 in a row? And you just gave up 390 yards of total offense to a team that was only averaging 278, which was fourth worst in the NFL this year. This is not a prolific offensive Denver team by any stretch, but hand it to Bo Nix, man. He's obviously making progress, getting better each and every week. Coaching matters in the NFL, and we say it all the time. And it matters. And Bo Nix might have just landed with exactly the guy he needs to have a long career in the NFL.
Yeah, that situation is often more important than when exactly in the draft you are selected. Bo Nix did not throw for a ton of yards last night. Frankly, I thought he'd at least approach 200 against the fourth worst passing defense in the NFL in New Orleans. Didn't really have to. 164 yards through the air. Did add 75 on the ground. In fact, both of our rookie signal callers last night over their pregame rushing yards prop. It was a big night for Javonte Williams. 14 carries, 88 yards on the ground, 2 touchdowns. Joe, he entered week 7 and last night in the Big Easy with 79 total touches this year, and yet to find pay dirt, he finally crosses the pylon. It was the most amount of touches without scoring a touchdown entering last night. So Bo Nix, who had thrown for 200 plus in 4 of 6 last night, not quite to that number. But Joe, the Broncos are now 4-3. And in all 4 victories for Denver, Bo Nix has not turned the football over. That is maybe the most key statistic for a rookie quarterback. And Denver did that last night.
Listen, they give the credit. They're going to do it with defense until they can figure some things out offensively, right? Again, 4th worst offense, but the 4th best defense. And certainly, I believe 2nd in sacks in the NFL with 22 heading into that game. They've only given up 284 yards a game, which was 4th best in the NFL. I mean, this is a top 5 defense, a bottom 5 offense. But again, this time of year, as the weather gets worse, Ben, you can win some games with just defense, a dominant defense like that, and that's exactly what they're doing.
Yep, and that defense is dominant, even finding a touchdown last night. Now, 3rd best scoring defense in the league, that's the Broncos, just over 15 points per game. 4th best total defense, only allowing about 282 yards per game to their opposition. So, Denver, a good night. Javonte Williams scores twice. Troy Franklin, Bo Nix's Oregon teammate, Denver's leading receiver. Joe, Denver, as we will look at in just a moment, a game above 500, the 7th team out of 16 in the AFC now to have a winning record at this moment. Could the Broncos make enough noise in the AFC to be a playoff team? We'll discuss in just a moment. But again, 5-2 against the spread for Denver, a perfect 2-0 ATS in their 2 games as a favorite a few weekends ago against Las Vegas, last night on the road in New Orleans, and a warm welcome for Sean Payton and a successful homecoming. Joe, under Sean Payton, Dennis Allen was the defensive coordinator for Payton's final 6 seasons at the helm in the Big Easy. It is now year number 3 for Dennis Allen as the head coach of New Orleans. An impressive 2-0 start. They had scored at least 44 points in both of those season opening wins. But now since 5 consecutive losses, they've only covered once in that span. And they've allowed at least 26 points in their last 4 games. Some of that is defense and special teams scoring for the opposition, but still, it is not a pretty picture in the Big Easy. And there were questions about Dennis Allen's job status at the end of 2023. I think those questions are starting to be floated again here midway through 2024.
Oh, but I mean, let's look at what he had to take the field with last night, though. I mean, no Derek Carr, no Olave, no Rashid Shaheed, no Taysom Hill, Cesar Ruiz, no Pete Werner. They lost both their starting cornerbacks during the game. Adebo got a leg injury in the first half. He was carted off. And Latimer pulled a hamstring in the second half. They literally have nobody, man. I mean, this whole team is decimated right now. A shell of what we saw the first couple of weeks.
It is very true, but again, they were the underdog, and that was expected. Short week at home, 9-11 against the spread as a dog, with Dennis Allen now 2-3 ATS as an underdog this year, covering in their first 2, no covers in their last 3 as an underdog. With the team assembled and the roster right now, New Orleans is going to be an underdog for a good majority of the rest of this season. The season outlook for both clubs next.
That kid on the 2-point conversion play was wide open on the right side of the end zone, and the kid threw it about 15 rows over his head.
People crystallized Georgia and Alabama. They put them on the shelf above everyone else, and they're just not there this year. I thought the kid Beck was great on Saturday, but they barely beat Mississippi State, who is porous.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
So, the reaction after last night on a Thursday in the Big Easy to start off Week 7 of this 2024 NFL season. Joe, let's start with the good. The Denver Broncos, 4-3 football team. Even last year when things felt a little bit tumultuous in the Mile High City in Sean Payton's opening year as the head coach, they were 8-9. They were way over their win total a season ago. Win total this year, 5.5 in the preseason. Denver's 2 wins away from already going over that number. And here we are with a 4-3 record for the Broncos after their 7th game. Plus 178, Joe, is the price on Denver to reach the postseason. They are one of 7 teams currently with a winning record in the AFC, a conference we expected to be competitive, and a gauntlet really has not lived up to that preseason billing. Is there any kind of evaluation in your mind that sees the Broncos as just a good enough team relying on a very stout defense to keep winning football games as long as the rookie QB Bo Nix plays clean, that Denver could end up 9-10 wins and maybe sniffing a playoff berth?
Well, they'll keep winning if they keep rushing like they did last night. And that's really going to be the key here, Ben, is the ability to be able to take the pressure off of Bo Nix, allow him to develop and get better as a passer without asking him to drop back 40 times a game, which will be a recipe for disaster. So if you can get Javonte Williams, you can get Nix some design runs like they had last night. When you can rush the ball, play solid defense, and not ask your quarterback, your rookie quarterback, to have to carry the load, they'll win some games, especially, this, as the weather gets rougher there. It's still a big home field advantage, and the schedule isn't exactly daunting here. I think, what do they got, Carolina next or something? It's unbelievable what they've got in front of them. So, yeah, they can rack up enough wins to certainly be in consideration for a wild card spot.
Listen, there's a chance, and a very good one, at the end of October, as the Broncos now have a few days off with the addition of the mini bye. Playing short week Thursday, they return home to Mile High next Sunday, hosting the Panthers. The Broncos will be a favorite for the third time this year. And then to start off November, we shall see. On the road at Baltimore, on the road at KC, hosting the Atlanta Falcons. But there's a chance that Denver is going to be at least in those in the hunt graphics come the end of November. Still a plus money price to see the postseason in the AFC, despite how the conference has been a little bit of a letdown so far. Joe, to New Orleans, as you said, and as we looked at, listen, not the roster that Dennis Allen and the Saints had in their first two games of the year. But now they are 2-5. After a 2-0 start, they have lost 5 in a row. There has not really been a redeeming quality about this Saints team. And Dennis Allen is a defensive mind. The defense has been atrocious this year. Gave up more than 220 yards on the ground last night, despite Bo Nix only throwing for $164. How bad can things get this season for the Saints based on injury, based on the play we are seeing on the football field?
Well, I mean, they got to get some guys back here. I mean, not having Carr, one, is a disaster, but not having Olave, Taysom Hill, even in years past, we always had Taysom Hill as a backup, which was certainly feasible and watchable and doable offensively with him, but they don't even have that. Now they're rolling out Haener and Rattler, and it's just unwatchable right now. So the Saints need to figure some things out offensively. Otherwise, what you got last night, Ben, we're going to see a lot more of that, unfortunately. And then what? The locker room's going to quit, and that's going to be the end of him.
Yeah. Listen, there was already some question at the end of last year how the locker room felt about their head coach, Dennis Allen. Of course, Jameis Winston under center, filling in late in that game, decided to call an audible to score a touchdown for Jamal Williams. There was a talk of lack of control of the organization for Dennis Allen. But, Joe, after that 2-0 start for New Orleans, we were having real and I think justified conversations about this offensive juggernaut that was the Saints. They had a 12-1 price to win the NFC. Now that number is 55-1. They were the favorites in the division. That is no longer the case. They were greater than a $2 favorite at minus 205 to see the NFC postseason. Now it's plus 270. A lot of that is because of injuries. The defense has taken a step back as well. And before the game, we learned that Rashid Shaheed, because of the knee surgery, is out for the remainder of this season. Tough one in the Big Easy. Around playoff baseball next.
That kid on the two-point conversion play was wide open on the right side of the end zone, and the kid threw it about 15 rows over his head.
People crystallized Georgia and Alabama. They put them on the shelf above everyone else. And they're just not there this year. I thought the kid Beck was great on Saturday, but they barely beat Mississippi State, who is porous.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
What a night of playoff baseball on a Thursday in October. A doubleheader of action. It was Game 4 of the National League Championship Series in Queens, Game 3 and the first in Cleveland in the ALCS. The National League Championship Series has been a little bit lopsided. In each and every game, we have seen at least a 4-run margin. And when the Dodgers have been victorious, Joe, they've won by at least 8 runs in Games 1, 3, and 4. At least it wasn't a shutout for New York last night, but it was 10 runs out of the Dodgers. Over a total of 7. All 4 games have featured some offense so far in the NLCS. All 4 have gone over. The Dodgers victorious at Citi Field as a road favorite to take a 3-1 series lead. The offense got started very early on the second pitch of the game from Jose Quintana. Shohei Ohtani took him yard. Mark Vientos responds for New York in the home half of the first, but from there, it was really all L.A. Mookie Betts, who had been relatively quiet so far in the LCS, he was ignited last night. Tommy Edman has been a stud for the Dodgers here in this postseason. 7 RBIs now. He has recorded at least a ribby in all 4 games in the NLCS. He was great at the dish once again, and the Dodgers dominate and are now just 1 win away from a National League pennant with a 10-2 win in game number 4.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, but it appears, Ben, that the Mets have just run out of gas here. And it should not, I think, come as a shock, given the fact that the kind of baseball that they had to play down the stretch, even to be able to get into the postseason, when you're asking guys like Quintana and Manea and these guys to basically rely on them to be able to get you into the postseason. We're talking more innings than these guys have thrown the last couple of years. Guys coming off of injuries. You don't have the best of bullpens. We all knew this. So you were asking guys to do a lot above their head to get into the postseason. And now it looks like you're starting to pay the price for that because they just look like a team, Ben, that is completely out of gas right now. And who can blame them?
Yeah, listen, they have had a magnificent and magical run for those Mets. A proud organization in the Grimace era, all of that. Do they still have some life in game number 5? We shall discuss in just a moment. But, Joe, when it came down to the Dodgers and their postseason outlook as this otherworldly team assembled in the offseason, the additions of Shohei Ohtani and Yoshi Yamamoto and Tyler Glasnow and Teoscar Hernandez, they were an all-star lineup playing each and every day at the Ravine. But entering the postseason, no Glasnow. Yamamoto had been banged up for a good majority of this year. Walker Buehler looked like a shell of himself on the mound. The question for LA was, did they have the pitching edge, which is what wins in October? at least here, since about the middle point of Game 3 of the NLDS against San Diego, the Dodgers on the bump have been sensational. Yoshi Yamamoto started game number 1 of the NLDS against San Diego. Got roughed up a little bit. 3 innings of work, allowed 5 earned runs. Last night, after allowing the solo shot to Mark Vientos, who responded in the first, maybe some questions about Yamamoto. He really solidified things in the Dodgers bullpen, which has been sensational, stepped up in a significant spot once again. The Mets did record 10 hits in this game, but were 0 for 10 with runners in scoring position. And Joe, after the Dodgers took a 7-2 lead into the home half of the 6th inning, Mookie Betts adding on with more and more RBIs midway through that game. The Mets had the bases loaded in the bottom of the 6th without a single out recorded in the inning. Were unable to scratch across even a run. Lost chances last night for New York, and when the Dodgers needed their pitchers to bend but do not break, they certainly delivered.
Yeah, no, they did. And they had no answer for Mookie Betts, the top of the order, the 1 and 2 hitters. Absolutely won that game for him last night. But the inability to get, and we were talking about this earlier, the Mets' inability to be able to get that big hit when needed.
Yeah.
The Dodgers have been getting them, and the Mets have not, which is, again, why you've been outscored here, 30-9 in the series here so far? I mean, it's ugly. And it's ugly mostly because you haven't really delivered on that big hit when it needed most. And it's not like it's 1, 2, 3 innings. The Dodger pitchers had to navigate through a lot of guys on the base pass, but they made the big pitch when they needed to. And the Mets just have not gotten that boost yet. And it's unfortunately cost them now in a 3-1 deficit.
Mookie Betts was 1 for 4 in game number 1, 3 RBIs, but entering last night was just 2 of 12 in this series. 4 for 6 last night, scoring 3 runs, a 2-run shot in the 6th, a 2 RBI double in the 4th that really extended and separated for LA. I mentioned Tommy Edman, who the Dodgers traded for just before the deadline at the end of July. From St. Louis. He was a Gold Glove winner back in 2021, but had not played this year for the Redbirds before the deal to send him to the Dodgers. He's 7 of 17 in this set. He's batting .412. He's got an RBI in every game. He's got 7 RBIs in total. He had 3 ribbies recorded last night. And Joe, to your point about the Mets, Francisco Lindor, a couple of base knocks. Again, Vientos, the home run. Pete Alonso, 1 for 4. Last night. It hasn't been great and prolific offensively for the Amazons, which is what they needed. In game 2, the Mets' only victory in this series, they won 7-3. In games 1 and 3, when they were blanked, just 7 base knocks. They did have 10 last night, but unable to convert. And Jose Quintana, the veteran lefty, who had been great for New York in this postseason, 11 innings of work prior to last night, shutout baseball, did allow 5 earned run early and often against Shohei Ohtani. So now, Joe, the Dodgers, a minus 1,500 favorite to win the National League pennant. The Dodgers, with Jack Flaherty, who was lights out in game number 1, gets the start tonight. And LA is a minus 142 favorite on the road in Citi Field. 5 p.m. Eastern time. First pitch is scheduled for game number 5. Will the Mets at least force a return trip to L.A., or will the Dodgers be in their 4th World Series in the last 12 seasons?
Yeah, well, it's, listen, anything is pods, one game at a time now, right? So it's not like we have not seen the Mets down to their final outs in, let's say the Milwaukee series, for instance. They have been doing this all year long. Do the amazing Mets have one more win in their back pocket? Yeah, it could very well happen in this game. And then, one game at a time. I think it would be crazy to doubt them given what they've had to go through to get here. And we've had this conversation in other series leading up to this. So, well, I'm sure they're not going to lay down. But quite honestly, my fear, Ben, is that they're just out of gas here at this point. And if you can't navigate around the top of that order of the Dodgers, what chance do you have anyway?
The Mets have been playing playoff baseball since June after a 24-33 start, but nobody in the bigs better since June 1st. We'll see how much life in what is left in the tank for the Amazons tonight? Is it the final game of the year, the final one at Citi Field, or will the Mets rally to force a Game 6 at bare minimum in L.A.? The over of the series total games of 5.5 has had the hefty and consistent juice for the entirety of the NLCS. Now the under has that minus money price. Again, the Dodgers a minus 142 money line favorite for tonight. And again, Flaherty, oh boy, was he sensational in Game 1. 7 innings of work against the Mets, only 2 hits, shutting out New York in that opening game at the Ravine. NLCS MVP odds, Shohei Ohtani, the shortest price. Not a surprise by any means. Max Muncy, second shortest. Mookie Betts, the third. Tommy Edman, Kike Hernandez, top 5 prices, all Dodgers. Again, I'm going to say it. Tommy Edman batting .412, 7-17 in this series, but with back-to-back games of a long ball, Shohei Ohtani at the top of the board. Game 3 in Cleveland, an instant classic. Next.
That kid on the two-point conversion play was wide open on the right side of the end zone, and the kid threw it about 15 rows over his head.
People crystallized Georgia and Alabama. They put them on the shelf above everyone else, and they're just not there this year. I thought the kid Beck was great on Saturday, but they barely beat Mississippi State, who is porous.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Yes, recency bias certainly at stake here when I say that last night in Cleveland in Game 3 of the ALCS between the Guardians and the Yankees was one of the best playoff baseball games I have ever witnessed. And it was a thrill. Game 3, first in Cleveland. The Yankees up 2-0, having won both in the Bronx. The Guardians had a 6-1 lead entering the 8th. Emmanuel Clase, who has struggled and did struggle last night in the postseason on the bump. You're feeling good if you're Stephen Vogt and the Guardians to get your first victory in this American League Championship Series. And Aaron Judge, who did hit a home run at the end of game number 2 to add on for the Yanks, but had been mostly quiet so far in this playoff run for the Pinstripes, was up at the dish, a 3-2 game. and Aaron Judge, or excuse me, a 3-1 game, and Aaron Judge delivers his second consecutive game with a home run, a 2-run shot to tie it at 3. Giancarlo Stanton next up. He's been red hot at the dish this postseason. A solo shot against Class A, who we'll talk about in just a moment. The Yankees go back-to-back. They hold a 4-3 lead in the 9th. Gleyber Torres adds on some insurance. They turn it over to Luke Weaver with a 5-3 lead in the 9th inning, who had been sensational so far this postseason for the Yanks. In their first 4 wins, Weaver was in there to shut the door and record a save. But last night, down to their final out, a runner on for Big Christmas. Jhonkensy Noel, 1-0 count, and absolutely clobbers a baseball over the left field wall, ties it at 5. We go to extra innings, and in the home half of the 10th, David Fry, the all-star for Cleveland, delivers a 2-run walk-off shot that sends the entirety of the land into a frenzy. The Guardians walk it off for their first victory in the LCS in game number 3, 7-5, the win for Cleveland.
And a much-needed win for Cleveland, that is for sure. But, I mean, if you go back to the outing, and I think this all started with the fact that what they got from Boyd in this game was absolutely huge for the Guardians, because what they had not done in the previous 2 games was play with any sort of lead, and that is really kind of messes them up. They are a team that can utilize that bullpen when they have a lead, and they have not had that at all during this series. And sure enough, Boyd, because of the Yankees' inability to be able to hit lefties in any way, shape, or form this year. I mean, the Yankees went 73-45 against righty starters during the regular season. That was the best record in baseball. But then they only went 21-23 against lefty starters. So Boyd coming out, giving you 5 innings like he did, keeping the bats quiet and giving you an opportunity to play from the lead. You don't think when Class A is in the game, we're going to be having the kind of game that we ended up having. It would have been very sweet. 3-1 game is over. But I'll tell you this, guys, this is the postseason where no closer is safe. I don't care who you are. We've seen Devin Williams lose games, walk-off games. We've seen now Weaver. We've seen Class A. We saw Edwin Diaz. When you go down the list of closers that we have seen blow games in this postseason, I don't think any lead is safe anymore here, Ben.
No, it's certainly not. We'll talk about Emmanuel Class A in just a moment. In contention for the American League Cy Young Award, it is Tarek Skubals, but that was the thought for most of this year. Joe, to your point on Matthew Boyd, he's got a .77 ERA in 3 starts or 3 appearances this postseason. He has come in for Stephen Vogt and just been good from the very jump. Last night, the first time he even offered up an earned run in his 3 outings here in October. Now to Class A. Both managers last night trusting their closers to come in the 8th and record a 4-out save, because Class A came in with 2 outs in the 8th, and there was a runner on, Juan Soto, who got on base against Aaron Judge. You still probably give the edge right here, right now to Class A. He gets taken deep. Game is tied at 3. All right, just hold on. Give him a shot to win the game. Another home run to Giancarlo Stanton. Emmanuel Class A, in 74 appearances in the regular season, allowed 5 earned runs in total. That's it. And 2 homers in total. In the postseason for Cleveland, he has allowed 6 earned runs, more than in the entirety of the regular season, and 3 homers, also more than what he allowed in the regular season. Joe, it's almost unfathomable that this is what Stephen Vogt is having to deal with, but it is the scenario for Cleveland. He is lucky, both Class A and Vogt, to have Jhonkensy Noel and David Fry in the offensive lineup.
And the ironic thing here, Ben, is that this was not a big home run hitting team here, the Guardians, this year. I mean, they're not even remotely close to being one of the top home run hitting teams here in the American League. In fact, they were kind of basically middle of the road, and yet they had 2 home runs heading into that game, both solo shots in this series. And then look at what they did last night against the Yankee staff. Unbelievable. When they need the home run or the big shot, they end up getting it at Progressive Field. They've been doing that all year long. We'll see if they can keep doing it against Louis Heel here today.
First game at the LCS in Cleveland since 2016, and Progressive Field into a frenzy. I mean, Joe, there's something beautiful when announcers are just fans, right? I love Brian Anderson. I love the booth they have for TBS now that a certain Syracuse guy and Bob Costas is no longer calling baseball games here in October. And when they are just freaking out and yelling, oh, my God, oh, my goodness, as that ball is off the bat for Big Christmas, John Kenzie Noel. I mean, truthfully, it was one of the most beautiful things I have seen. It's one of the reasons we love sports. So the Guardians get their first win in the ALCS. It is game number 4 tonight in Cleveland. The Yankees still a hefty favorite, greater than $4, Joe, to win the pennant at minus 410, still hold a 2-1 series advantage.
Yeah, they certainly do. They still have the big advantage here. All-important game here. Guardians do not want to go back and have to deal with the fact of being down 3-1 in any way, shape, or form.
And our guy, Luis, don't call him Lucas. Heel makes his playoff debut tonight for New York. Now to the Sunday slate in the NFL next.
That kid on the two-point conversion play was wide open on the right side of the end zone, and the kid threw it about 15 rows over his head.
People crystallize Georgia and Alabama. They put them on the shelf above everyone else, and they're just not there this year. I thought the kid Beck was great on Saturday, but they barely beat Mississippi State, who is porous.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
So now we get you set for the Sunday slate and week number 7 around the 2024 National Football League season. A football Friday, but obviously with so much else going on in the sports landscape. And Joe, one of the games of the week this Sunday, a Super Bowl 58 rematch and a potential Super Bowl 59 preview in Santa Clara on Sunday afternoon. The 49ers play host to the Chiefs. The odds right now slightly in favor of San Francisco, 1.5 on the spread, minus 126 in the money line. Total at 47 and a hook. Joe, let's start there with those numbers. Does it surprise you at all to see San Francisco as the favorite?
No, it doesn't. I mean, what are we, 6 months removed after the Super Bowl, right? And yet the 49ers were a short favorite in that game, too, were they not, if I'm not mistaken, in that game? So here we are, only they won't have Christian McCaffrey. I think their safety is still out as well, but Kansas City missing Rashee Rice here. L'Jarius Sneed is no longer there. So this is two totally different teams than we saw 6 months ago. But for the most part, where they're at this point in the season, it feels that this is the right number. I wouldn't give them a full 3, Ben, right? I mean, I don't think the market would go that crazy for home field advantage here. It feels like this is the right price given the circumstances of these two teams right now.
Yeah, I would agree, Joe. I think when you just look at record and their head-to-head matchups in those big games where Kansas City has beaten San Francisco for a Lombardi twice in the last 5 NFL seasons, maybe the public would think, why is Kansas City at least not a slight road favorite in Santa Clara? Part of that is home field advantage, right? Not a neutral field like we had seen in previous Super Bowls. Kansas City has not been the underdog so far this season in their first 5 games. They've actually covered in 4 of 5. KC will enter week number 7 along with Minnesota, the 2 remaining undefeated teams in the NFL, fresh off a bye. But the 49ers, a little bit of a bye as well. They played last Thursday night, so some additional rest to get ready for this football game. Still not expected to have Christian McCaffrey back. Some injuries defensively for San Francisco as well. And, of course, for Kansas City, some injuries on the offensive side of the football. Joe, KC, an underdog 4 times last year, including their final 3 playoff games. Divisional round in Buffalo, championship round in Baltimore, Super Bowl 58 in Las Vegas against San Francisco. The Chiefs an underdog 4 times, once in the regular season, a perfect 4-0 outright as an underdog. So that's how the two teams stack up. And, Joe, it's not just a Super Bowl rematch. According to the odds makers right now on FanDuel, it's a Super Bowl preview. The Niners the favorites in the NFC. The Chiefs the favorites in the AFC. These the 2 shortest prices to win a Lombardi Trophy this year in New Orleans. 5-1 for Kansas City, 7-1 for San Francisco. Is there a chance that Sunday in Santa Clara is also a Super Bowl preview?
It wouldn't shock me. I mean, but to back up what you're saying, I mean, when you look at Patrick Mahomes in his career now, he is 16-2 against the number, 14-4 straight up, where he's an underdog or a favorite of up to 2 points. So, in other words, when Patrick Mahomes' back is up against the wall and they are challenged by better teams, or at least the better teams the market thinks are, guess what happens? He shows up, elevates him and everyone else around him, and they not only end up winning these games, but getting the outright covers as well. So, yeah, this could very well be exactly what we're going to get one more time around, but a lot of football left to be played.
So when you look at San Francisco, they've been a favorite in every game since the start of last year. Again, it's just a 1.5 spread. We're talking about 30 cents of difference on the money line. But San Francisco, after the cover last week on the road, Thursday night in Seattle, now 12-14 ATS as the favorites since the beginning of 2023. San Francisco just 3-3 entering this football game. They have gone over in all 3 wins. They have scored at least 30 points in all 3. But KC's defense, Joe, has been great once again this year. Under in 3 consecutive games for the Chiefs. Quickly on that total, 47.5. You lean under or maybe some points on Sunday?
Oh, I would not be leaning under in any way, shape, or form in this game here. Way too early for a defensive battle.
Yeah, it probably will be. Northern California, beautiful in the month of October. Plenty more around the Sunday slate as Football Friday rolls on into hour 2 next.